Please welcome from the Rainbow Push Coalition, the Reverend Jesse L. Jackson, Sr.
Thank you.
Reverend Jackson, Angela suggests, she doesn't suggest, she says very clearly that we had an agenda and we fell down. It's clear to me, and I think to most of us around this table and in this room, that black folk, again, we're going to put all this stuff on the table in truth and in love. Black folk were asked to do a lot of things to help elect this president. We were asked by the candidate at his campaign. We were asked by black leaders to do any number of things to help get Barack Obama elected as our president. We were asked to walk precincts. We were asked to give money. We were asked to hold teas and coffees in our homes. We were asked to show up at rallies. We were asked to do a lot of things to help to activate our organizations. Black churches were asked to do any number of things. All of us in black America were asked to do things to help elect this president. One of the things that's troubling, for me at least, and I want to get your take on this, is, to Angela's point, what black folk have been asked to do since Barack Obama was elected president. Because if we're not being asked by black leaders, if we're not being asked by black organizations, if we're not being asked by the president we elected to get behind him to do A, B, C, D, and E to help him advance an African-American agenda, then it seems to me that all the energy, all the effort, all the resources that we know we have, because we activated it to get him elected, those resources are now sitting dormant. So talk to me about what we have been asked to do, or not to do, as it were, since he's been elected president of the United States.
The good news is that the president sets a high moral bar. So I want to represent all of America. That's a big deal. Most presidents never made that commitment. They represented white male Americans, and then after fight, female Americans, and then labor Americans, and then Native Americans. And so the idea of a one big tent America is a new deal. Within that context, there are some Americans living in luxury and some living in pain. And that must, if your hand is cut to death, fingers cut, you don't wrap the foot that's not bleeding, you wrap the one that's bleeding. And so our pain today, even as we deal with the health care challenge, and it is a real challenge, that in Chicago, 3,200 black Americans die a year from health disparity. More die a year in this city from health care disparity than in the 9/11 terrorist attack 10 years ago. Obviously, those in the most pain must have some priority attention. Let's go a step further. Today, our black Americans, while we're #1 in football, basketball, baseball, golf, tennis, track, and presidential politics, we're #1 in infant mortality. The #1 in short life expectancy by 7 years. #1 in home foreclosures. #1 in church foreclosures. #1 in student loan defaults. #1 in credit card scams. And so we need heavy lifting at the bottom of this economy up. I want to stay a little close to your first one about kind of who are we, because the very term black in the context of America takes on the kind of electricity. The term black makes people overreact. Tomorrow, there is a rally in Washington. 100,000 Latinos are marching for comprehensive immigration reform and bilingual education. Of course they want that. That is within a multicultural arrangement. Each of the member groups have primary agendas and they have common agendas. And so tomorrow they'll march for a comprehensive immigration reform, and the White House is deliberating how it handles that agenda. The don't ask, don't tell was the gay lesbian agenda, and that has been addressed. The issue about the bank bailout. We demonstrate they use lobbyists. And their lobbyists say, if we fail, America will fail. And so we bail them out. And that was a good thing, perhaps, but it was not linked to lending. It was not linked to reinvestment. It was not linked to honoring civil rights laws. So the banks got the bailout, didn't honor fair lending laws, didn't honor fair housing laws, did not honor did not honor CPA, did not honor affirmative action laws. So these banks, watch this, engaged in something called reverse redlining. They broke the law without any penalty for breaking the law. The same day that the president addressed the matter of Dr. Gates and Crowley on the issue of an incident that took on the media firestorm, that same day, Lisa Madigan, the Attorney General, had a press conference in Chicago filing a lawsuit against a bank that got bailout, but the bank did not lend. That bank targeted blacks and Latino people on South and West Side Chicago. Blacks and browns making $100,000 a year got subprime high-cost loans. Whites making $50,000 a year got low-cost prime loans. The fact is, it did not help white or black, because at the end of the day, when we begin to face foreclosure, since every time one house is in foreclosure, 9 houses lose value, we were evicted and couldn't pay taxes. They won the water, and the house was worth more than they were paying for it. So guess what? We began to lose police and teachers and firemen and librarians. In some real sense, the black agenda is the American agenda. That's why I like the idea of his being America's president. Most American presidents have not been America's president, and so deal with the members of that family and based upon priorities and pain. I would say lastly that the black agenda is the humane agenda. It is the lost sheep agenda. It is the democratic agenda. It's the healing agenda. It's to offset the hypocrisy agenda. The idea that some people are 3/5 of a human being, and that blessed by churches and politics and scholars, and others were 7/5. They taught some people to be superior and conditioned others to be inferior. Our struggle was a struggle to even the playing field. Why are we so dominant in football, basketball? But it's hard to be the best basketball player in the world. It's hard to be the best, but the reality is that there's something now going on called March Madness basketball. We dominate, but May Sadness at graduation time. What is the disparity here? Why are we so good on the court and so weak off the court? Because why are we so good? Whenever the playing field is even, and the rules are public, and the goals are clear, the referee is fair, we can make it. But when you look at where we are today, the rules beyond the playing field are not fair. So the black agenda really is America's. And I might add in closing, Dr. Ron, is that our agenda has never been the left agenda. It's always been the moral center. The 13th Amendment in slavery and indentured servitude, it was the moral agenda. The 54 decision pulled down walls for all locked behind both sides of an artificial wall made by law and culture. The Voting Rights Act of '65 was not just the black agenda driven by blacks, but guess what? White women couldn't serve on juries. Farmers who couldn't pay the poll tax couldn't vote. 18-year-olds couldn't vote. You couldn't vote residential where you went to college. We had to democratize democracy and have proportionality. And so I would say to you that the black agenda is the moral center agenda. That in slavery time, if the right said, treat them as you want to, they are your property. The left wing said, be kind to them. That's the left. Our agenda was end that system. We must end the system of oppression. And I say to you today that the black agenda is winning, from ending slavery, to ending legal Jim Crow, to the right to vote, to electing a president. Our agenda, the moral agenda, is marching on. We are a better nation because of our morally centered. Our agenda is good for the healing of America. Our agenda has never been exclusion. Our agenda is the canary in the mine. We've always been that force that has been good for America's redemption, and we remain in that coveted moral position.
Reverend Jesse Jackson.